as thousands of people across internationally demonstrated against the Russian President Vladimir Putin's expanding autocracy, the conflict in Ukraine and a rigged election that could only produce one winner. Putin has declared a resounding victory. He received 87% of the vote in a referendum that the United States condemned, stating it as a not free nor fair. This according to exit polls released by the Russian Public Opinion Research Center and the Public Opinion Foundation. Earlier, during a night rally at his campaign headquarters, Putin had dismissed criticism of the elections from the West, assuring his supporters that they were expected. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had declared on Sunday that Russian President Vladimir Putin aspired to an indefinite reign, adding that Russia's presidential election was an illegitimate imitation. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said, and I am quoting here, "The Russian dictator is simulating another election." He also said that Putin was sick for power and is doing everything to rule forever. A crowd of demonstrators gathered in front of the Russian embassy in London to express their disapproval of President Vladimir Putin's re-election and to honor the late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Numerous demonstrators had screamed slogans like "Russia will be free" and "Peace to Ukraine." This as thousands of people waited hours outside the embassy to cast their ballots. In the election that will undoubtedly give him a resounding win, Putin said he was ready to solidify his hold on power. According to the Kremlin, Putin has the resounding backing of the average Russian, citing polls showing an approval level of more than 3/4. Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that his country was prepared to discuss a French proposal for a truce in Ukraine during the Olympic Games. But with that, Russia would also need to consider its interests on the front lines. This comes after an interview broadcast on Ukrainian television on Saturday, when French President Emmanuel Macron stated that Russia will be expected to uphold a truce in Ukraine throughout the Paris Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has condemned Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, saying that the Russian government had breached the Olympic truce, which aims to harness the power of sports to promote peace and dialogue. After an overnight strike on the port of Odessa on the final day of Russia's presidential election, Ukrainian officials reported that at least 6 people have been injured in a Russian missile attack on the Black Sea port city of Mykolaiv on Sunday. As a result of the attack, houses, vehicles and infrastructure were damaged. Separately, the Ukrainian military also said that multiple industrial facilities in Odessa had been destroyed and agricultural operations had been harmed by Russian airstrikes. The regional governor of Mykolaiv reported that 2 strikes had occurred in Mykolaiv, both of which originated from the same direction as the Odessa strike. As the Israel-Hamas conflict continues, explosions and smoke plumes were visible above Gaza, despite expectations that the ongoing negotiations to secure a ceasefire will get up in Qatar. A fresh proposal from Hamas for a 3-phase plan to cease hostilities has been presented to mediators for the upcoming negotiations. Israel is sending representatives to Qatar. However, concerns about Israel's impending military assault on Rafah in southern Gaza are becoming increasingly pressing. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Friday that the military's preparations to strike Rafah have been approved. The Israeli offensive has displaced most of Gaza's 2.3 million people from their homes. According to United Nations, a quarter of Gaza's population is starving. This comes as United States and other nations continue to make airdrops. Deliveries on a new sea route have also begun. But now, aid groups are saying that more ground routes and fewer Israeli restrictions are needed to meet humanitarian needs in a significant way. A World Central Kitchen staff member posted a video showing aid being unloaded off the first Gaza aid supply ship. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has restated his request for a temporary truce between Israel and Hamas. He stated that he had discussed the necessity of offering extensive humanitarian help to the Gaza population with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Earlier, Scholz had also questioned the terribly high costs of Israel's offensive in Gaza against the Hamas militant group. He stated that international community should not just watch helplessly as Palestinians in the enclave are risking hunger. Speaking in Jerusalem following his discussions with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Scholz also said that he had expressed his worries about the large number of civilian deaths and insufficient aid reaching Gaza.
Thank you for having me.
Thousands of Chileans demonstrated in Santiago's streets calling for an end to Israel's siege of Gaza, which has resulted in the deaths of over 31,000 people. During the protest, demonstrators could be heard yelling phrases like "break ties with Israel" and holding banners that read "Free Palestine" and "It's not self-defense, it's genocide." The largest Palestinian population outside of the West Asia lives in Chile. These people are also actively involved in local politics, culture, and soccer. It is a powerful social and political force in the Andean nation. North Korea has fired a ballistic missile into the sea after a break of 2 months. This comes at a time when United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken is visiting South Korea. According to South Korea's military, multiple short-range missiles were fired from a region south of the North's capital, Pyongyang. The launch was also reported by Japan's Coast Guard. Japan said what appeared to be a second ballistic missile fell outside its exclusive economic zone area. The latest launch comes as the militaries of South Korea and the United States carried out large-scale annual joint military drills. The drills lasted for 10 days, ended on March 14. The ruling Taliban in Afghanistan has accused Pakistan of carrying out 2 airstrikes inside Afghan territory. The strikes reportedly killed 8 women and children. A Taliban spokesman strongly condemned the strikes, calling them a violation of the country's sovereignty. The airstrikes were launched on Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan hideouts deep inside Afghanistan in Kunar and Paktika. This comes after at least 7 Pakistan Army soldiers, including a lieutenant colonel and captain, were killed at a military post in the North Waziristan tribal district. bordering Afghanistan in northwest. Pakistan has witnessed over 1,500 violence-related fatalities and over 1,400 injuries from 700 terror attacks and counter-terror operations in 2023. India and Maldives reviewed the ongoing process of replacing Indian military personnel from Maldives. This was the third meeting of the India-Maldives high-level core group. Both sides noted the progress they have made in replacing Indian military personnel with civilians on the aviation platforms in the Maldives. So far, India has withdrawn the first team of military personnel operating one such platform. The remaining two teams will be replaced on April 10th and May 10th this year. Officials also agreed to hold the next meeting in New Delhi on a mutually convenient date. Career news about the hearing of the electoral bonds case. India's top court today said SBI should disclose all the information related to electoral bonds in its possession. Appearing for the State Bank of India, senior advocate Harish Salve told the Apex Court that alphanumeric numbers of the bonds would be provided to it. An application was filed in the Supreme Court seeking a direction to disclose the details of the electoral bonds sold between March 1, 2018 to April 11, 2019. The Supreme Court has dismissed the request. Brazil's official news agency has reported that the capital city of Rio has broken all the previous records for thermal feeling. This when a district on the west side of the nation measured 62.3 degrees Celsius early on Sunday. According to a report from the Rio Operations Center, this is the highest thermal sensation ever recorded since the Rio Alert system started collecting data in 2014. Some residents have claimed that there is occasionally not enough water to drink or bathe in during the high temperatures. Many have resorted to beaches and pools in an attempt to escape the heat. Raging forest fires in southwest China's Sichuan province triggered evacuations of about 3,400 people. Rescuers have been rushed to combat the fires in the mountainous area. Sudden strong winds fanned the wildfire over multiple mountain ridges in several directions, resulting in 3 major fire sites. Local authorities swiftly moved to evacuate the affected people to safe areas. Over 1,500 responders were dispatched and 8 helicopters deployed to combat the flames. In observance of St. Patrick's Day, the water in the White House fountain was tinted emerald green on Sunday. Visitors flocked to Lafayette Park, which is located across from the White House, to witness the vivid green fountain gushing across the famous structure's north lawn. This tradition of dyeing the water in the White House fountains green began in 2009 when the Obamas had requested the change. Carrying over the custom from their hometown of Chicago, which involved dyeing the river green for the event.
It was not morally sound to investigate into the operational investigation of the event. It was not morally sound.
Tens of thousands of people gathered on the streets of Dublin to watch the Irish capital St. Patrick's Day parade on Sunday. The event, which included over 4,200 participants, was attended by locals and international tourists. The late show presenter Patrick yelled, people cheered and waved flags as the parade passed. St. Patrick's Day parades also took place in other cities in Ireland. The day observes the death of the patron saint of Ireland. The day has evolved into a celebration of Irish culture with parades, music, dancing and a lot of green beverages. With Easter arriving early this year, London bakers are busy preparing their spring offerings. From cupcakes decorated with chicks, eggs and bunny ears to colourful spring cakes, London bakers are making freshly baked treats ahead of Easter, but ongoing increases in the cost of core ingredients such as chocolate, sugar and eggs are having a considerable impact on their business. The price of core ingredients has risen sharply, leaving many bakers no choice but to pass some of the rises on to consumers. UK's Labour Party is considering proposals to combat AI deepfakes. The proposal aims to ban notification tools used for non-consensual pornography. Not just that, the proposal aims to ask multiple political parties to come together and agree on avoiding deepfake technology for campaigning purposes. According to experts, by outlawing dedicated notification tools and imposing obligations on AI developers, the rise of harmful and fraudulent deepfakes can be prevented. As per a policy paper by the Labour Together think tank, parties should refrain from using deepfake technology for campaigning. The think tank also proposes exceptions to media coverage bans during elections in the United Kingdom to address misinformation that could go viral as people head to polls. Russia has revealed that approximately 160,000 cyber attacks targeted the nation's remote electronic voting portals. However, the attacks were successfully blocked by the country. Additionally, 30,000 cyber attacks were directed at the remote voting systems monitoring portal. According to Russian officials, the cyber attacks had surged on Saturday but ultimately failed in their intent to infiltrate the systems. Russian election authorities stated that cyber attacks on Moscow's information systems were traced back to the United States and the United Kingdom. Japan's core machinery orders fell more than expected in January on the back of a weak manufacturing sector that prompted the government to downgrade its view on the indicator for the first time in more than a year. The data released by the Cabinet Office follows recent data that highlighted concerns about the sluggish recovery in the world's fourth biggest economy. It comes as the Bank of Japan kicks off its two-day monetary policy meeting, although core machinery orders data is unlikely to have a significant bearing on the central bank's decision. The dollar was steady as traders looked ahead to a week dominated by central bank meetings worldwide, with the Bank of Japan seemingly on the brink of ending negative rates and the focus on how many rate cuts the Federal Reserve projects. Apart from Japan and the United States, central banks in England, Australia, Norway, Switzerland, Mexico, Brazil and Indonesia are all due to meet, with most expected to stand pat on rates. Carlos Alcaraz has defended his crown at the Indian Wells Masters. The second seed surged past world number 4 Daniil Medvedev after a slow start. Alcaraz entered the summit clash by ending Yannick Sinner's 16-match unbeaten run in 2024. But it was Medvedev who raced away to 3-love lead. Alcaraz battled back by winning some incredible rallies to take the opening set in a tie break. The second seed was at his best in the second set. Alcaraz dropped just one game to win the match, 7-6, 6-1 in 1 hour and 42 minutes. The win ends a title drought for the Spaniard that stretched back to last summer's Wimbledon. World number 1 Iga Swiatek clinched her second Indian Wells title. The pole dispatched 9th seed Maria Sakkari in a rematch of the 2022 finals. The top seed had not dropped a single in the tournament and came out guns blazing in the summit clash. Swiatek raced to a 3-love lead before the Greek fought back to make it 4-all. But world number 1 broke Sakkari in the 10th game to close the first set. Swiatek was unstoppable in the second set. She lost only 5 points and cruised to a dominant 6-4, 6-0 win in 69 minutes. This was her career 19th title and second for the year. Ed Sheeran joined forces with Punjabi artist Dilip Dosanjh during his performance of Lover in Mumbai. The The 55th NAACP Image Awards was a star-studded affair. Rapper Usher was named Entertainer of the Year at the event, which highlighted works by entertainers and writers of color. 2023 musical The Color Purple bagged the Best Motion Picture. Meanwhile, Damson Idris took home the award for the Best Actor in Drama Television Series for his role in Snowfall.